Sham Sharadava Nalalida Loka Tranaya Karuna Gana Ganatam Sham Sharadava Nalalida Loka Tranaya Karuna Gana Ganatam Praptasya kalyana gunanavasya Vande Guru-shri Charanara-vrindam Praptasya kalyana gunanavasya Vande Guru-shri Charanara-vrindam 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 Mahaprabhu ki Tana Nitya Gita Vaditramadhyam Manasura-sena Romanchakam pasru taranga bhajo Vande Guru-shri Charanara-vrindam Shri Vigrahara Dana Nityanana Shingaratanama Niramajanado Dana Nityanana Juktasya Bhaktamsa Niyunjatapi Vande Guru-shri Charanara-vrindam Chaturvidha-shri Bhagavat-prasada Swatana-triptan Hari-bhakta-sangam Chaturvidha-shri Bhagavat-prasada Swatana-triptan Hari-bhakta-sangam Kridvaiva-tripten Bhajata Sadeva Vande Guru-shri Charanara-vrindam Shirari-kama Dabayara-para Madhurya-lila Guna-rupa-namna Shirari-kama Dabayara-para Madhurya-lila Pratikshana Dhanalupasya Vande Guru-shri Charanara-vrindam Vande Guru-shri Ne kunjayono Ratikeli siddhai Jajali bheri jokti Apekshaneya Nikunjayono Ratikeli siddhai Jajali bheri jokti Tatrati dakshat Atibalabhasya Vande Guru-shri Charanarvindam. Sajjadharidena samasta shastre uktastatha bhavyataiva sarve. Sajjadharidena samasta shastre uktastatha kintu prabhuja priya eva tasya vande gurashi charanarvindam. Priya eva tasya vande gurashi yasya prasada bhagavat prasado. Yasya prasadam nagati kutapi. Yasya prasadam yasya prasadam nagati kutapi. Yayam stubham tasya yashastrin sandhyam vande gurashi charanarvindam. Yayam stubham tasya yashastrin sandhyam. Yayam stubham tasya yashastrin sandhyam vande gurashi charanarvindam. Yashastrin sandhyam vande gurashi charanarvindam. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravane Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunavadi Pachata Dishata Rine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Nirvishesha Shunavadi Patata Nishata. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Shri Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Shri Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Gadadhara Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vinda Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Yaraya Namah Krishna Jadavaya Namah Jadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Namah Gopal Govinda Ram Shri Madhusudan Giridhari Gopinath Madana Mohan Shri Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Sita Hari Guru Vaishnava Bhagavata Gita Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raguna Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Raguna Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Shri Shri Radha Nila Madhav Radha Nila Madhav Radhe Radha Jayo Jagannath Jayo Baladeva Jayo Subhadrama Jayo Sudarshan Chakra Jaya Sitaram, Jaya Sitaram, Sitaram, Jaya Lakshman Hanuman. Nitai Gora Haribo, 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 Nitai Gora Haribo, Haribo, Haribo. Vimanande Haribo. Jayam Vishnupada Paramita Prabhajakacharyam Ashtutara Sarasi Shimad Iskon Pratishta Bibiti Samstapakacharya Vaishnava Siramani Gaura Priyajana Krishna Prima Bhakti Datta Patita Pavana His Divine Grace Abhoicharavina Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ji Ki Jai Shri Gaurya Guru Varga Patita Udhari Ki Jai Shri Rupa Sanatana Bhatta Raghunatha Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Guna Sadgoswami Prabhu Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ji Ki Jai Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai Prem Si Kaho Si Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Ji Param Dayal Si Nityananda Prabhu Ki Jai Prema Nama Sankirtan Eka Janaka Prema Purushottama Shri Sachinandana Shman Gauranga Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Gaur Hari Mahavana Avatar Ki Jai Golokera Pramadhani Nam Sankirtan Jaga Ki Jai Jugadharma Hare Krishna Mahamantra Ki Jai Brihat Midanga Transcendental Book Distribution Seva Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Goputna Radha Kund Syama Kund Giriraj Govardhan Ki Jai Shri Brajabam Vrindavan Mathura Ki Jai Dear Lordship Shri Shri Radha Nilamadhava Ki Jai Shri Maya Purnavadip Eka Chakradam Ki Jai Parama Karuna Shri Shri Gaur Nitai Ki Jai Shri Purushottama Kitra Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai Shri Shri Jagannath Swami Baladev Prabhu Srimati Subhadra Devi Sudarshan Chakra Bhagavan Ki Jai Bhakti Sarva Vigna Vinashana Karan Shingare Bhagavan Ki Jai Jaganga Mai Jamuna Mai Ki Jai Tulsi Maharani Vrindi Devi Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Bolo Shri Maturadharani Ki Shamaveta Bhakta Vrindi Ki Jai Nitai Gaurari Pramanande Haribo All glories to the Assembly Bodies All glories to the Assembly All glories to the Assembly Bodies All glories to Shri Guru Shri Guru.
Namaste Narasimhaya. Pragladadayine. Hiranyakashipurvakshaha. Hiranyakashipurvakshaha. Shilantankarnakalaye. Ito Narsimha Parato Narsimha. Yato yato yamitato Narsimha. Bahir Narsimha Hirdaye Narsimha. Narasimha Madim Saranam Prapate. Tavakara Kamala Bare Nakam Abhuta Shringam Dalita Hiranyakashipu Tanubringam Keshavatirtha Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare. Jai Jagadisha Hare. Jai Jagadisha Hare.
Tavakara Kamala
Hare Nakam Abhuta Shringam Dalita Hiranyakashipu Tanubringam Keshavatirtha Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare. Jai Jagadisha Hare. Jai Jagadisha Hare. Jayo Keshavatita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare. Jai Jagadisha Hare. Jai Jagadisha Hare.
Jaya Kesavadita
Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare. Jai Jagadisha Hare. Jai Jagadisha Hare. Jaya Narasimha De. Jaya Narasimha De. Jaya Narasimha De. Jaya Narasimha De.
Jaya Nisingare Jaya Nisingare Nisingare Jaya Nisingare.
Jaya Prahlad Maharaj. Jaya Prahlad Maharaj. Jaya Prahlad Maharaj. Jaya Prahlad Maharaj.
Jaya Prahlad Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj, Jaya Prahlad Maharaj.
Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada.
Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada.
Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. Hari Bol. Hari Bol. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol.
Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. जय श्री श्री भक्ति पथ सर्व विघ्न विनाशना कर सिंगरी भगवान की जय। भक्त श्रेष्ठ प्रहलाद महाराज की जय। पूरी प्रमाण श्री वृंदाई तुलसी बाई प्रिय के सब सत्य विष्णु भक्ति प्रादे देवी सत्यवताय नमो नमः। वृंदाई तुलसी बाई प्रिय के सब सत्य विष्णु भक्ति प्रादे देवी सत्यवताय नमो नमः। वृंदाय तुलसी देवाय प्रिय के सब सत्य कृष्ण भक्ति प्रदे देवी सत्यवताय नमो नमः। जय श्रीमती तुलसी महारानी वृंद देवी की जय।
तुलसी कृष्णा प्रेयसी नमो नमः।
तुलसी कृष्ण
तुलसी कृष्णा प्रेयसी नमो नमः। राधा कृष्ण सेवा पावो एई अभिलाषी।
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 जे तोमार शरण लोय तारा वंच पूर्ण होय।
जे तुम्हारा शरण
कृपा कोरी कोरो तारे वृंदावनवासी।
तुम्हें कृपा करे करा तारे वृंदावनवासी।
मोरा विलास कुंजे दियो बा।
विलास कुंजे दियो बा।
नयने हेरिबो सदा युगल रूप राशि।
नयने हेरिबो सदा युगल रूप राशि।
निवे নিবেদনাধর সখীর অনুগত করো সেবাধিকার দিয়ে করো নিজ দাসী দীন কৃষ্ণ দাস কোয়ে এই নমোর হোয়ে শ্রী রাধা গোবিন্দ প্রেমে সদায় নবাসী শ্রী রাধা গোবিন্দ প্রেমে সদায় নবাসী প্রেমে সদায় নবাসী তুলসী কৃষ্ণ প্রেয়সী নমো নমঃ তুলসী কৃষ্ণ প্রেয়সী यानि कानि च पापानि ब्रह्महत्यादिकानि च तानि तानि प्रणश्यन्ति प्रदक्षिणा पदे पदे यानि कानि पापानि ब्रह्महत्या तानि तानि प्रणश्यन्ति यानि कानि च पापानि ब्रह्महत्यादिकानि च तानि तानि प्रणश्यन्ति प्रदक्षिणा पदे पदे यानि पापानि ब्रह्महत्यादिकानि च तानि तानि प्रणश्यन्ति प्रदक्षिणा पदे हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम जयो तुलसी महारानी जयो तुलसी महारानी जयो तुलसी महारानी जयो तुलसी महारानी जयो वृंदा देवी जयो वृंदा देवी जयो वृंदा देवी जयो वृंदा देवी निताय गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल निताय गौर हरि बोल निताय गौर हरि तुलसी महारानी की जय।
श्री वृंदाई तुलसी दिवाई प्रिय के सब सत्य Vishnu Bhakti Prade Devi Satyavataye Namo Namaha. Vrindai Tulasi Devi Priyai Ke Sabha Satya Vishnu Bhakti Prade Devi Satyavataye Namo Namaha. Vrindaye Tulasi Devaye Priyaye Ke Sabha Satya Krishna Bhakti Prade Devi Satyavataye Namo Namaha. Jai Shrimati Tulasi Maharani Vrinda Devi Ki Jai. O Tulasi, beloved Krishna, I bow before you again and again. My desire to obtain the service of Shri Radha and Krishna. Whoever takes shelter of you as wishes fulfilled, bestow your mercy upon him, you make him resident of Vrindavana. My desire that you also grant me a residence in pleasure groves of Sri Vrindavan Dham. Thus, within my vision, I would always behold the beautiful pastimes of Radha and Krishna. I beg you to make me a follower of Kaveh damsels of Raj. Please give me the privilege of devotional service and make me your own maid servant. This very fallen and lowly servant of Krishna praise, may I always stream in love with Shri Radha and Govinda. Srimati Tulasi Maharani Vrinda Devi Ki Jai. So let's remember the 10 offenses against the chanting of the holy name of the Lord that should be avoided. They are as follows. 1. To blaspheme the devotees who dedicate a life for propagating the holy name of the Lord. 2. To consider names of demigods, the Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma, to be equal to or independent of the name Lord Vishnu. 3. To disobey the orders of the spiritual master. 4. To blaspheme the Vedic scriptures or scriptures and pursuance of Vedic version. 5. To consider the glory of chanting Hare Krishna to be imagination. 6. To give some interpretation to the holy name of the Lord. 7. To commit sinful activities and strength of chanting the holy name. 8. To consider chanting Hare Krishna as one of the auspicious ritualistic activities which often Vedas as fruitive activities, karma kanda. 9. To instruct the fearless person about the glories of the holy name. And 10. To not have complete faith in chanting the holy names and to maintain material attachments, even after understanding so many instructions on this matter. It also an offense to be inattentive while chanting. Every devotee who claims to be Vaishnava must carefully guard against these 10 offenses in order to quickly achieve the desired success, Krishna Prema. Now let us offer our most humble obeisance unto all the Vaishnavas, devotees of the Lord. They are just like desired trees that can fulfill the desires of everyone, and they are full of compassion for the fallen conditioned souls. Jivancha kalpatarubhyascha kripasindhubhyaivacha paritanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namo. Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Sikhastakam Ki Jai. Chaito Darpanamarjanam Bhavamada Vagninivapanam Shreyakariva Chandrika Vitaranam Vidya Vadhu Jivanam Anandam Buddhivardhanam Padipanam Purnamrita Swadanam Sarvatmasnam Paramparam Vijayati Shri Krishna Sankirtanam Namnamakari Baudha Nija Sarva Shaktis Tatrarpita Niyamita Shmarane Nakala Ita Drusitava Kripaya Bhagavan Mamapi Durdhaivam Idrishamiya Jani Nanuraga Trinadapi Sunichena Tarorapi Sahishnuna Amanina Manadena Kirtaniya Sadari Na dhanam na janam na sundarim kavitam va jagarisha kamaye Mama Janmani Janmanishwari Bhaktata Bhakti Rahaitu Tvai Ainandatanu Karam Patitamma Vishame Bhavam Buddho Kripaya Tapapad Pankaja Stita Duri Sadrisham Vichintaya Nayanam Galorashtu Dharaya Vadanam Gada Gadarudhaya Gira Pulakai Chitamba Pukadam Tavanam Grahane Bhavisyati Jugaitam Nimishena Chakshusha Prabhusaitam Sunyaitam Jagat Sarvam Govinda Virainame Aslisha Padaratam Pinashtumam Adarshanaar Marmahatam Karotuva Jata Tathava Vidadhatulam Pato Mat Pranatastu Saivana Para Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Shri Kyastakam Ki Jai Namo Mahavaranayo Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnayo Krishna Chaitanya Namine Gauratvishe Namaha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Shmade Bhakti Vedanta Saminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devim Gauravani Pracharine Nivishesha Shunnavadi Vatsatyadi Satarine. Glory to the Shri Krishna Sankirtana, which cleanses the heart of the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditional life, repeated birth and death. This Sankirtan moment is the prime benediction for humanity at large, because it spreads the rays, the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss and enables us to fully taste the nectar for which always anxious. O my Lord, your holy name alone can render all benediction to living beings. And thus we have hundreds and millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names, you have invested all your transcendental energies. There are not even hard and fast rules for chanting these names, O my Lord. Out of kindness, you enable us to easily approach you by holy names, but I'm so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them. Once you chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself a Lord and stroll in the street, one should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respect to others. In such state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your constant devotional service, birth after birth. O son of Maharaj Nanda Krishna, I am your eternal servitor, yet somehow or other I am fallen in this ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms at the Lord's feet. O my Lord, when will my eyes be decorated with tears of love flowing constantly when I chant your holy name? When will my voice choke up, and will the hairs of my body stand on the end at the recitation of your name? Oh Govinda, feeling your separation, I am considering a moment to be like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain, and I feel all vacant in the world in your absence. I know no one but Krishna as my Lord, and it shall remain so, even if sunders me roughly by his embrace, or makes me broken-hearted by not being present before me. He is completely free to do anything and everything, for he is always my worshipful Lord unconditionally. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Shri Kyastakam Ki Jai. Shri Guru Vandan Mangala Charan Ki Jai. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshurumilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Shri Chaitanya Manavistam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Swapadantikam Bandeham Shri Guru Shri Juta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Cha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatha Vintam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitam Cha Nama Om Vishnu Padayo Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devem Gauravani Pracharine Nivrishesha Shunyavadi Patsatyadisha Tarine Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Tinamini Shri Varshabhana Videvi Daitaya Kripabdvaye Krishna Sambandha Vijnana Daine Prabhave Namaha Madhurjojala Primadhya Shri Rupanuga Bhaktida Shri Gaura Karuna Shakti Vigrahaya Namostute Namaste Gauravani Shri Murtaye Dinatarine Rupanuga Viruddhapo Siddhanta Vantarine Namagori Kishoraya Sakchavera Gyamurtaye Vipralambhara Sambhude Panabhujayate Namaha Namo Bhaktivinoraya Satchidanandanamine Gora Shakti Swarupaya Rupanuga Varayate Gora Virbhava Bhumitsvam Nirdesha Sajana Priya Vaishnava Sarvabhuma Sri Jagannatayate Namaha Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyaivacha Paritanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Namo Mahavarannaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namine Gauratvishe Namah Panchatattamakam Krishna Bhakta Rupa Swarupakam Bhakta Avataro Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakta Shaktikam He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanto Namostute Jayatam Suratopangur Mama Mandamatir Gatir Masarvasya Parambojo Radha Madanamohano Divya Vindaranya Kalpadumadha Shmara Nagara Shingasanasto Shmaradha Shila Govinda Devo Prishtali Visheva Mahanashmarami Shmara Sarasarambi Vamshvata Tatastita Karshan Venu Sanar Gopir Gopinata Shristuna Tapta Kanchana Gurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrusabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shvasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Srimad Bhagavatam Grantaraj Ki Jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Presta Bhutale Shimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Guruvani Pracharine Nirvisesa Sunyavadi Paskadya Desatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Gaur Premanandi Haribol. So we're reading from Canto 3, Chapter 8, verse number 24. Mrinala Gorayata Se Saboga Paryanka Ekam Purusham Sayanam. Third canto, chapter 8, verse number 23. I'm sorry. Mrinala Gorayata Se Saboga Paryanka Ekam Purusham Sayanam Fanata Patra Yuta Murta Ratna Dubir Hata Dvanta Yuganta Toye Mrinala Lotus flower Gora White all over Ayata Gigantic Seshaboga Body of Seshanaga Paryanke on the bed Ekam alone Purusham the Supreme Person Sayanam was lying Vana Atapatra umbrella of a serpent hood umbrella of a serpent hood Ayuta bedecked with Murdaha head Ratna jewels. Yubihi, by the rays. Hatadvanta, darkness dissipated. Yuga anta, devastation. Toye, in the water. Translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Brahma could see that on the water there was a gigantic lotus-like white bedstead, the body of Sheshanaga, lying alone. The whole atmosphere was illuminated by the rays of the jewels bedecking the hood of Sheshanaga, and that illumination dissipated all the darkness of those regions. Okay. So there's no purport. We'll go to the next verse, text 24. Preksham Shipantam Harito Paladrehe
Preksham Shipantam Harito Paladre
Sadya Braniver Ururulana Mudana
Sandhya Braniver Ururu Mamudna
Ratno Dadarao Sadik Shomanasya
Ratno Dadaro Sadit Somanasya
Vanasrajo Venu Pujanu Gripangrahe
Vanasrajo Venu Bunang Grihapankri
Preksham,
Preksham,
the panorama.
the panorama.
Shipantam,
Shipantam,
deriding.
deriding.
Harita,
Harita,
green.
green.
Upala,
Upala,
coral.
Kora,
Adre,
Adri,
of the hell.
of the hill.
Sanya Abra Nive,
Sandhya Abranivi,
of the dress of the evening sky.
of the rest of the evening sky.
Uru,
Guru,
great.
great.
Rukma,
Rukma,
gold.
gold.
Murdana,
Murthana,
on the summit.
on the summit.
Ratna,
Ratna,
jewels.
jewels.
Udadara,
Udadhara,
waterfalls.
waterfall.
Oshadi,
Aushadhi,
herbs.
herbs.
Somanasya,
Shaumanas,
of the scenery.
of the scenery.
Vanashraja,
Vanasraja,
flower garland.
flower garden.
Venu,
Venu,
dress.
dress.
Bhuja,
Puja,
hands.
hands.
Angripa,
Angripa,
trees.
trees.
Angre,
Angre,
legs.
legs.
Translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. The luster of the transcendental body of the Lord mocked the beauty of the coral mountain. The coral mountain is very beautifully dressed by the evening sky, but the yellow dress of the Lord mocked its beauty. There is gold on the summit of the mountain, but the Lord's helmet, bedecked with jewels, mocked it. The mountain's waterfalls, herbs, etc., with a panorama of flowers, seem like garlands, but the Lord's gigantic body and His hands and legs, decorated with jewels, pearls, tulasi leaves, and flower garlands, mock the scene on the mountain. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. The panoramic beauty of nature, which strikes one with wonder, may be taken as a perverted reflection of the transcendental body of the Lord. One who is therefore attracted by the beauty of the Lord is no longer attracted by the beauty of material nature, although he does not minimize its beauty. In Bhagavad Gita 2.59, it is described that one who is attracted by Param, the Supreme, is no longer attracted by anything inferior. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Text 25. Ayamato Vishtarata Swamana
Ayamato Vistarata Swamana
Dehena Loka Traya Sangrahena
Dehena Loka Traya Sangrahena
Vichitra Divya Bharana Muskanam
Vichitra Divya Bharanam Shukanam
Krita Shriyat Parsita Vesadeham
Krita Sriya Pasrita Vesadeham
Ayamata,
Ayamata
by length.
by length
Vishtara,
Vistara
Vishtarata,
Vistarata
by breath.
by breath
Swamana,
Swamana
by his own measurement.
by his own measure
Dehena,
Dehena
by the transcendental body.
by the transcendental body
Lokatraya,
Lokatraya
the three upper, middle, and lower planetary systems.
the three upper, middle and lower planetary systems
Sangrahena,
Sangrahena
by total absorption.
by total absorption
Vichitra,
Vichitra
variegated.
variegated
Divya,
Divya,
transcendental.
transcendental,
Abharana,
Aparana,
Abharana Sukhanam,
Avarana, Amshukana,
rays of the ornaments.
rays of the ornament,
Krita Shriya Apasrita,
Krita, Visriya, Apasrita,
beauty created by those dresses and ornaments.
beauty created by those dresses and ornaments,
Vesha,
Vesha,
dress.
dress,
Deham,
Deham,
transcendental body.
transcendental body.
Translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. His transcendental body, unlimited in length and breadth, occupied the three planetary systems, upper, middle, and lower. His body was self-illuminated by unparalleled dress and variegatedness, and was properly ornamented. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. The length and breadth of the transcendental body of the Supreme Personality of Godhead could only be measured by His own measurement, because He is all-pervading throughout the complete cosmic manifestation. The beauty of material nature is due to His personal beauty, yet He is always magnificently dressed and ornamented to prove His transcendental variegatedness, which is so important in the advancement of spiritual knowledge. So this variegatedness is very important, because variety is the spice of life. So there's what you would call constant discovery when you're relating yourself to Krishna. And that discovery is full of nectar and transcendental bliss. Therefore, there's no question of boredom in the spiritual world or any time you're in contact with Krishna. That's why it's very important to regularly hear about Krishna's transcendental qualities, as we're doing right now, because no one is equal or greater than Krishna. Everyone is subordinate to him. No one can emulate the things that Krishna does. Emulate means equal. Act in an equal level with Krishna. It's impossible, because he has unlimited potencies or powers, and he can do things that nobody else can do. But hearing about these things is very important, so that we don't have a, let's say, limited understanding of God. Krishna is unlimited in every respect. So when we begin to understand that, then we see there's an eternity of bliss when you're associating with Krishna. And there's complete boredom and degradation in the material world, because the material world is temporary. It's not going to last forever. And in the material world, as soon as you're born, you begin to die. Most people think, well, as soon as you're born, you begin to live. No. As soon as you're born, you begin to die. Oftentimes, not everyone, but oftentimes, children die right after they're born or after a couple of years. So, therefore, it's for a Vaishnava, he knows that as soon as you're born, you begin to die. Therefore, we should use every minute in the service of Krishna, or every second in the service of Krishna. If we do that, then Krishna protects us, because we have become convinced to engage in devotional service. Now, this is what has to be taught to children. They should be engaged in devotional service. Parents who don't engage their kids in devotional service are going to realize later on they made a big mistake. And the way you engage your children in devotional service is to have them accompany you while you're doing devotional service. That way, the child will follow the father and mother. If the father and mother are not doing devotional service, or if they don't include their children in their devotional service, they're making a big, huge, gigantic mistake, and they'll pay for it. because the children will not grow up to be Krishna conscious. You cannot be Krishna conscious without engaging in devotional service. And the whole purpose of Vedic knowledge is to convince someone to engage in devotional service. So we have many people that may come to classes, but not really dedicated to devotional service. So just coming to the temple is devotional service. So that's good. But engaging in time-sensitive devotional service is much better. Time-sensitive devotional service means you have to do things according to needful to serve Krishna. So that happens in the kitchen, that happens in the food truck, that happens in festivals, that happens in the Sunday feast, that happens in all these different activities that we're engaged in. They are all time sensitive. And therefore, it's necessary for devotees who want to become Krishna conscious and who want to stay Krishna conscious to be engaged constantly in devotional service. Okay, so the beauty of nature is due to the Lord's personal beauty, yet he is always magnificently dressed and ornamented to prove his transcendental variegatedness, which is so important in the advancement of spiritual knowledge. So nothing is independent of the Lord, whether it's the beauty of a sunrise or sunset, that's all coming from Krishna, or whether it's the beauty of a pristine forest or a pristine lake or a pristine ocean front. All these things are related to Krishna. They're not independent. And if there's anything beautiful, it's because of Krishna's presence. Just like when the soul is present in the body, well, the body looks nice. The body looks attractive. As soon as the soul leaves the body deteriorates and becomes rotten. So, and then when Krishna is present, things look nice. And when people, like right now, in this war in Ukraine, there are so many nice buildings and so many nice forests and so many nice land, agricultural land. It's all getting ruined. It's all getting ruined now by bombs. Most of the bombs are made in Russia and America and Europe. So this is the danger that can be proliferated by crazy people when they try and blow up things and destroy things. So when Krishna is present, there is beauty, there's harmony, there's transcendental bliss. When people forget about Krishna and just think about their own selfish interests, then there's wars, and pestilence, and violence, and the beauty goes away. So the beauty is present when Krishna is present. Now how is Krishna present? If you chant Hare Krishna, he's present. There's no difference between the name of Krishna and Krishna himself. And therefore, we should always bring Krishna, make Krishna present by chanting, by talking about Krishna, by engaging in Krishna's service, by hearing about Krishna, and by making offerings to Krishna and going on Sankirtan for Krishna. We should always make Krishna present. And the easiest way is just by chanting the holy names, because there's no difference between Krishna and his holy name. And serving. Okay, so these are short purports, and we'll read one more, text 26. Pumsam swakamaya vivikta margar.
Pumsam swakamaya vivikta margar.
Abhyar chatam kama dugangri padmam.
Abhyachirtam kama dogangri
Padarsayantam kripaya nakendu
Pradarasayantam krupaya nakendu
Mayukta binanguli charupatram
Mayuka Viganguli Charupatram
Pumsam of the human being,
of the human being.
Swakamaya,
Swakamaya
according to the desire.
according to the desire.
Vivikta margai,
Viktamargai
by the path of devotional
by
service.
the path of the devotional service.
Abhyarchatam,
Vyarchatam
worshipped.
worship.
Kamaduga Angri Padmam,
Kamaduga Angri Padmam
the lotus feet of the Lord,
the lotus feet of the Lord,
which can award all desired fruits.
which can award all desired fruits.
Pradarsayantam,
Pradarsayantam
while showing them.
by showing them.
Kripaya,
Kripaya
by causeless mercy.
by causeless mercy.
Naka,
Naka
nails.
nails.
Indu,
Indu
moonlight.
moonlight.
Mayuka,
Mayuka
rays.
rays.
Bina,
Bhinna
divided.
divided.
Anguli,
Anguli
figures.
figures.
Charupatram,
Charupatram
very beautiful. Translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. The Lord showed His lotus feet by raising them. His lotus feet are the source of all awards achieved by devotional service, free from material contamination. Such awards are for those who worship Him in pure devotion. The splendor of the transcendental rays from His moon-like toenails and fingernails appeared like the petals of a flower. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. The Lord fulfills the desires of everyone just as one desires. Pure devotees are interested in achieving the transcendental service of the Lord, which is non-different from Him. Therefore, the Lord is the only desire of the pure devotees, and devotional service is the only spotless process for achieving His favor. Srila Rupa Goswami says in his Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1.1.11 that pure devotional service is jnana karmadi anavritam. Pure devotional service is without any tinge of speculative knowledge and fruitive activities. Such devotional service is able to award the pure devotee the highest result, namely direct association with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna. According to the Gopala-tapani Upanishad, the Lord showed one of the many thousands of petals of His lotus feet. It is said, Brahmano sav anavaratam me daita stuta paradante so buddhyata gopavesho me purastat avirbhavuva. After penetrating for millions of years, Lord Brahma could understand the transcendental form of the Lord as Sri Krishna in the dress of a cowherd boy, and thus he recorded his experience in the Brahma Samhita in the famous prayer, Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami. So, there's a very important point here. There are several very important points, but one that stands out very, very significantly. That is, look at all the meditation and tapasya that Brahma had to do in order to see Krishna. And anybody who comes to the temple, which is a type of tapasya, right? Because they have to allocate time and gasoline and their energy to come to the temple, right? As soon as they walk in, they see Krishna. They didn't have to do 311 trillion years of meditation like Brahma. So you see, there are some very good benefits in the age of Kali, and that's all due to Lord Chaitanya, who made the tapasya in Kali Yuga very easy. Well, some people say, no, it's impossible. But if you give up meat eating, gambling, intoxication, illicit sex, it becomes very easy. But if you can't give those things up, then you say, oh, it's so terrible, it's so hard, I can't imagine how I can do this. Yeah, that's what the nonsense people say. But honest people, they say, wait a minute, I can do this because look what happens when you take drugs and you smoke, drink liquor, and when you eat meat and fish and eggs and oysters and all that gooey, ugly, filthy stuff that you put into your stomach, and it goes into your bloodstream, and it goes right up to your brain and destroys any possibility of being intelligent. And then illicit sex, which is the dirtiest thing in the world, and gambling, which leads to cheating and lying and stealing and all these different things. So when you give those things up, those things lead to death. That's what it says right there. The statistics are there. Those things lead to death. And Krishna, 5,000 years ago, and even before that, it said you shouldn't do these things. But these things are part of the culture of the world now. That means that culture means how you do things. So people are, instead of drinking milk, they're drinking beer and liquor and things like that, and engaging in all kinds of abominable things. And they're taking guns and killing people. Just like yesterday or last night, 10 people were killed and another 10 people, I think, were injured in north of Los Angeles. They went to a dance party expecting to have a great time and enjoy dancing, and they were killed. Right? This is going on almost every day now, all over the world, and including the United States. Now, the solution is not taking guns away from people. The solution is giving more guns and training people to use them responsibly. And then if you take away the guns from honest people, then they have no way of protecting themselves. But if people, this has been proven by experimentation, in places, in states, in places, in cities, where they don't have severe gun control, the crime by criminals is less, because the criminals know they could very easily be killed by someone who has a gun. But you take away the guns from people, the criminals win. They can always get guns illegally. The honest people won't be able to have guns anymore. Only the criminals will have the guns, and there'll be more crime. So you have to see, like, for example, the best argument to give up guns was given by Sita Devi. She tried to convince her husband Rama not to take any weapons when they went into exile, because she said, if you take them, you're going to use them. And she gave a very, very strong, potent argument. If you read the Ramayana, you'll see it. Of course, nobody reads the Ramayana, but if you read the Valmiki Ramayana, it's right there. Now, what do you think? Do you think Rama gave up his weapons? What do you think, brother? She gave a very potent argument to give them up. It's the best argument I've ever heard to give up all guns. So what do you think?
Exactly, I don't know, Maharaj.
Okay, that's an honest answer. He didn't listen to her. He took his guns, or all his weapons. That's not guns, but he had his weapons, which are worse than guns, right? And he used them when they were necessary. If he listened to her, it would have been a disaster. So, now, therefore, I'm sure Biden is going to say again, we got to get rid of the guns, we got to get rid of the military type of weapons out there, this thing and that thing. They're all going to say this. But the point is that people are getting killed, whether it's in a war like in Ukraine, or whether it's in the major cities in the United States and India also. India has very severe gun control. Are people being killed in India by the huh?
Terrorists.
There's terrorists, there's thieves. So are there deaths every day by these thieves and terrorists in India? Do you read about it? I mean, are people being killed by different means? And India has probably the strictest gun controls in the world, right? But still, people are being killed. And the terrorists, they have guns. They have guns more better. When India was invaded by this radical Muslim group from Pakistan, they came to Mumbai by a boat from Pakistan to some beach in Mumbai, and then they basically took over the whole city for a day or two, and they killed a lot of people. And the police had a hard time until the paratroopers and highly trained military men came from Delhi to fight them, because the Muslim jihadis, they had better guns than the police in Mumbai. Do you remember that?
Yes, yes.
You know, they were outgunned by these young kids, fanatic kids that snuck into the country and basically took over Mumbai for a day or two, maybe 3 days, right, and killed people. And police couldn't stop them because they were outgunned. They only got stopped when the paramilitary troops came in from Delhi. So we see guns have a purpose. They can be misused or they can be used properly. And in America now, many times you'll read that a man comes into a store or a place with a gun and threatens the people and starts robbing them, and somebody who has a gun permit to carry a gun with them legally, they kill that person. It's happening almost at least once a week somewhere in the United States. People who have guns legally and they have a carry permit, they can carry the gun on their, hidden in their on a body, and someone comes in with a thief comes in with a gun in a store or somewhere, and they get killed by the legal gun holder. And you look in the paper, look right now. You'll see somebody went into a sandwich shop, and he had a gun. Actually, it was a fake gun, but who knew that it was a fake gun? And another man who had a legal gun, when the thief turned his back to him, he shot him and killed him. And they did not arrest the man that killed him, because he didn't know that the gun that the thief had was not real. So it's happening, I would say, once a week somewhere in the United States now. People who have legal gun permits, they're starting to kill these thieves. There was one lady, an older lady in her 80s. A thief broke into her house. She was living alone. He broke into her house, and as soon as he came into the living room, she shot him and killed him. And she's a hero, right? If she didn't have a gun, she would probably have been killed. So, do you see something in the news? Huh?
Nothing.
No? Yes?
No, Maharaj.
No. Well, just look up. Thief is murdered. A thief is killed. by a person who has a carry permit of a gun. Okay, so the purport to this verse says, the Lord fulfills the desires of everyone just as one desires. Pure devotees are interested in achieving the transcendental service of the Lord, which is non-different from Him. You see, devotional service is the goal of all Vedic. So if you read the Vedas and don't come to the conclusion that I should engage in devotional service, that means you, even though you read them, you didn't understand anything. Did you find anything?
Yeah, I found one, Maharaj.
Go ahead, say it. You have the microphone? Microphone? Microphone.
This is January 7th, 2023 news. Customer shoots and kills armed robber in Houston taco shop.
In where? Houston.
Houston, yeah. Houston taco.
Houston, Texas, right?
Yes.
Not Houston. Houston.
Houston, okay. Houston.
Okay, you see, that just happened. And it's happening a lot now because, especially places like Texas where people have the right to have a gun on their body if they get a permit. You can do it here also. Now, I'm not recommending that you get a gun, but if you want one, you can get it. And you can carry it also in public. You can't show it. In Oregon, you can show the gun. If you go to Oregon, especially outside of Portland, you'll see people have a holster. It's like, cowboys. And they're walking around with a real gun. And they'll use it if you, as they say in English, mess with them, But normally, in Washington State, you're not allowed to show the gun. It has to be, and if you have a gun in your car, the gun has to be in the back of the car. It can't be in your hand or in the front of the car. Anyway, there's a lot of different rules in different states of how to carry a gun. So the Lord fulfills the desires of everyone just as one desires. Pure devotees are interested in achieving the transcendental service of the Lord, which is non-different from Him. Therefore, the Lord is the only desire of the pure devotees. And devotional service is the only spotless process for achieving His favor. So if you just learned that one sentence that I just read, now you know what is the ultimate purpose of hearing and studying Vedic literature. Let me read it again. Therefore, the Lord is the only desire of the pure devotees, and devotional service is the only spotless process for achieving His favor. You want to get Krishna to be interested in you? Engage in His devotional service. And that's the goal of all knowledge in the Vedas, to convince a person to be engaged full-time in the service of the Lord. Therefore, if you're engaged seriously in unalloyed devotional service, you have understood the Vedas, all the Vedas. And you will get the favor of Krishna, as it says here. It says, therefore, the Lord is the only desire of the pure devotees, and devotional service is the only spotless process for achieving His favor. Srila Rupa Goswami says in his Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1.1.11 that pure devotional service is jnana karmadi anavritam. Pure devotional service is without any tinge of speculative knowledge and fruitive activities. Such devotional service is able to award the pure devotee the highest result, namely direct association with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna. According to the Gopala Tapani Upanishad, the Lord showed one of many thousands of petals of His lotus feet. It is said, and so forth, in Sanskrit, after penetrating for millions of years, I'm not sure if that word is the right word. It's after meditating, not penetrating. I think that's a mistake. That's why I was a little puzzled by that word. After meditating for millions of years, Lord Brahma, look this verse up on the internet. I'm almost sure the word should be meditating, not penetrating. After meditating for millions of years, Lord Brahma could understand the transcendental form of the Lord as Sri Krishna in the dress of a cowherd boy, and thus he recorded his experience in the Brahma Samhita in the famous prayer, Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami. Did you find anything? Okay.
Of a voice or sound clearly heard.
No. We don't want the definition of word. You look up this verse. It is Canto 3, Chapter 8, verse number 26. And then go down to the last two sentences. It says penetrating there? Wow. Maybe I'm wrong then. Okay. After penetrating for millions of years. It doesn't make sense. Anyway. Lord Brahma could understand the transcendental form of the Lord as Sri Krishna in the dress of a cowherd boy, and thus he recorded his experience in the Brahma Samhita in the famous prayer, Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami. Okay, so takeaways from this verse is you want to have Krishna's favor, you have to be engaged in his devotional service. And pure devotional service is without any tinge of speculative knowledge and fruitive activities. Such devotional service is able to award the pure devotee the highest result, namely direct association with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna. So, Adi Dev is going to make a new poster, right, that we have downstairs, so many already. You might not be able to make it by Monday, but when you come back, you'll make it. Okay. So you start from the Lord is the only desire of the pure devotees, and devotional service is the only spotless process for achieving his favor. Srila Rupa Goswami says in his Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1.1.11 that pure devotional service is jnana karmadya navritam. Pure devotional service is without any tinge of speculative knowledge and fruitive activities. Such devotional service is able to award the pure devotee the highest result, namely direct association with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There it is. We should read this every day. That's the next poster we put up. Okay, so what time is it now? 7. Yeah, so I have another subject I wanted to talk about, especially since I'm going to be leaving for a couple weeks. This is called the purification of society. And if we look at the Srimad Bhagavatam 1.17.38, and it says, Sutta Goswami said, Maharaj Parikshit, thus being petitioned by the personality of Kali, gave him permission to reside in places where gambling, drinking, meaning liquor, prostitution, and animal slaughter were performed. So Maharaj Parikshit was always vigilant about what's going on in his kingdom. And one day he came upon a cow with tears in her eyes and lamenting. And then he saw the bull whose 3 legs had been broken, and he was standing up only on 1 leg. And the bull was Dharma, and the cow was Bhumi, or the earth. And she was shaking with fear and distressed. And he had asked the bull, he said, what's going on here? And gradually he found out that the personality called Kali not Kali Mata or Durga, but it's a man, Kali, and he's the, let's say, this age is named after him, Kali Yuga, because it's a terrible time to live. And why is it terrible? Because Kali's purpose is to create misery and make the world horrible by 4 principles. They are gambling, meat eating, illicit sex, and intoxication. And so he was trying to destroy Dharma, represented by the bull. And he put Mother Earth in great distress. So when Maharaj Parikshit, Maharaj Parikshit saw this, he immediately took out his sword and was going to kill Kali. Immediately. He didn't say, well, let's indict him, let's put him in jail, indict him, and we'll have a long trial. It'll cost hundreds, thousands, maybe millions of dollars of the public money, and then we'll see if we can get a decision against him. No. He was judge and jury right on the spot, because you're hurting a bull and you're putting a cow in distress. You deserve to be killed immediately. And Kali, when he saw the determination of Maharaj Parikshit, immediately fell down at his feet and surrendered. So when someone surrenders like that, according to the Geneva Convention, if you know what that is, you're not allowed to kill him. So Kali begged Maharaj Parikshit, said, please don't kill me. Just give me some place where I can start this Kali Yuga. That I was born for this purpose. And you're the king. I'm begging you. You give me some place where I can start to corrupt people. So Maharaj Parikshit, okay, well, only those places where there's meat eating, gambling, illicit sex, and intoxication. So Kali was happy. So, but actually Maharaj Parikshit tricked him, because there was no such place in his kingdom at that time, 5,000 years ago. Because he was very vigilant that people should follow the regulative principles, knowing well that if they do that, there will be peace, there will be happiness, there will be prosperity, and there will be Krishna consciousness, so people can go back to Godhead in this lifetime. So later on, Kali comes back very quickly and says, look, you tricked me. There's no places like this in your kingdom, so give me some other place where I can start my work. He said, okay, you can start your work wherever gold is being hidden and stored. He said, okay, now we're talking. So, but what did Maharaj Parikshit do? Immediately, he went around his kingdom and got all the black gold that people were hiding and forced them to give it to him, and he used it to spread Harinam Sankirtan in his kingdom. So again, Kali was tricked by Maharaj Parikshit. But because people were hoarding gold, he was able to find some people that Maharaj Parikshit missed. And that's how Kali Yuga started. Wherever there's gold that's being used, or in other words, black money, as they say in India. So whenever there's sham money, is it sham? They say sham? How do they say it? How do they? You know how they say it.
Kala, black money.
Okay, kala
Means black.
kala rupees. Huh? Okay. So he was able to find some places, and that's how Kali Yuga started. Because wherever gold is hoarded, there will be gambling, illicit sex, meat eating, and intoxication. If you go to Las Vegas, what do what do you see? Houses of big, huge places for gambling, intoxication, meat eating, and illicit sex. Right? Don't go to Las Vegas. Don't go to Reno. Don't go to Nevada. Period. Right? The whole place is a casino. One time I had to stop over for 1 hour in Reno, Nevada, and as soon as I stepped one step out of the airplane onto the to go inside, there was a lady there with a big cart, and she had these buckets full of quarters. And I was looking at her, so I wondering what's this, you know? And there's this lady behind me. She pushed me because I stopped to look. You know, she pushed me, and she bought one. She was a Vietnamese lady. She went, and she took one of those. And I was like really shocked, you know. And then I understood as soon as we went into the waiting hall, it was full of what do you call those? Slot machines. And she sat down at the first slot machine and started putting the quarters or whatever it was into the machine and pulling the lever. And it was a 1 hour stay, so I sat not too far away from her. I was just watching her. She just went, and about 45 minutes later, she started screaming like a duck. You ever hear a duck scream? A Vietnamese duck? She screamed. You know, she stood up, started jumping up and down. It could have been a devotee, right? Jumping up and down, right? But she was not chanting Hare Krishna. She was screaming like a duck. And she hit the jackpot. And then, you know, they came and they gave her another bucket, you know, to hold all that money. And then she sat down and went again. So then it was time to get on the plane. She refused to go. She said, I don't want to go. I don't want to go. I want to do this. And they said, lady, you have to come. No, I don't go. You call police. I don't care. She refused to go. You see, people are crazy. Very, very crazy. Okay. So here it says, the basic principles of irreligiosity are pride, prostitution, intoxication, and falsehood. So why doesn't it say meat eating, intoxication, prostitution, and gambling? It didn't say gambling either. It said falsehood. Because when a person becomes falsely proud, and by identifying with their body, with their ethnicity, with their race, with all these things, the bodily identification, they develop pride. And when they develop pride, especially if they're Christian, they say that animals don't have a soul. Therefore, you can kill them and eat them. That's what happens when people are proud. They make up false narratives. And so, first you get this bodily identification, then you become proud that I am this body, and then you look at a cow. You look at a dog and say, this is my best friend. Then you look at a cow and say, this is my best food. What? They should do the opposite. They should say the dog is the best food and the cow is the best friend, which is the truth. But no, they want to eat the cow, right? So these are demons. This whole culture has become demoniac. So pride will lead to meat eating and all kinds of other false things in life, like identifying with the body, etc. And then gambling will lead to falsehood. Most gamblers, like my brother was a gambler, and every time he went to Atlantic City to gamble, when he would come back, he'd say, oh, I won. But my other brother, who would go with him, he would tell me he didn't win a damn penny. He lost money. I said, really? But why does he say he won money? He said, because he's lying. Every time he goes, he loses money there. So you see, whatever Prabhupada is saying here is the truth. That gambling will lead to lying and theft and all kinds of things, especially if you lose. There was one man, he went to a casino and lost in, I think it was Atlantic City. He lost. He went after he got his money from his job. That, his wife was waiting for him to come home so they could go and buy some food and things. He lost everything in the casino. And then he demanded that they give him back the money that he lost. And he started screaming and getting a little bit violent. So they called the police, and he ended up in jail. And, then you see that there's no mercy in these places, especially a casino. They act real nice. They try and invite you. They give you some free chips to gamble. They give you some free food. But if you lose your money and you say, "Please give it back to me. I gotta feed my family," they arrest you and they put you in jail. Right? That's the reality. So, and just imagine the wife and the kids are waiting at home so they can go and buy some food to eat. Right? And he's in jail and he lost all his money. So this is some of the tragedies that are going on in this country because of open gambling, open prostitution, open meat eating, open all these things that are negative that people have access to. Okay, so Jiva Goswami directs that drinking against the principles of Scripture, such as Sotramani Yagya, association with women outside of marriage, and killing animals against injunctions of Scriptures are irreligious. In the Vedas, two different types of injunctions are there for the pravrittas, or those who are engaged in material enjoyment, and for the nivrittas, or those who are liberated from material bondage. The Vedic injunctions for the pravrittas is to gradually regulate their activities toward the path of liberation. Therefore, for those who are in the lowest stage of ignorance and who indulge in wine, women, and flesh, drinking by performing Sotramani Yagya, association of women by marriage, and flesh eating by sacrifices are sometimes recommended. Such recommendations in the Vedic literature are meant for a particular class of men and not for all. But because they are injunctions of the Vedas for particular types of persons, such activities by the pravrittas are not considered adharma. One man's food may be poison for others. Similarly, what is recommended for those in the mode of ignorance may be poison for those in the mode of goodness. Srila Jiva Goswami Prabhu therefore affirms that recommendations in the Scriptures for a certain class of men are never to be considered adharma or irreligious, but such activities are factually adharma, and they are never to be encouraged. The recommendations in the Scriptures are not meant for the encouragement of such adharma, but for regulating the necessary adharma gradually toward the path of dharma. So, one time Prabhupada was in a morning walk with this Gujarati doctor, and he would accompany Prabhupada almost every morning in Mumbai, in Juhu Beach. And then he got into an argument with Prabhupada. Why? Because Prabhupada was explaining how it is possible for people to eat meat according to the Vedas, but it's very restricted. It can be only one black goat per month, and they have to go to a pundit who asks the person who wants to eat that goat that he has to say this mantra in which it says, "My dear goat, now I'm going to kill you, and in the next life you'll be able to kill me in the same way." They have to say that mantra in Sanskrit. And then the person wants to eat the goat, he has to kill the goat himself. Then he has to clean out the intestines and take away all the hair and all that stuff. He can't pay someone else to do it. And then he's able to eat that goat. So the doctor said, well, if that's in the Vedas, I reject it. And Prabhupada said, you can't reject it, it's in the Vedas. No, 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 I don't accept it. If that's in the Vedas, I reject it. Prabhupada said, listen, you have to understand why it's there. It's to help these very low-class people gradually come to giving it up. Because every time they have to say, now I'm killing you, my dear goat, in the next life, you're going to kill me in the same way. When they realize what they're saying and what's going to happen to them, eventually they will give it up. He said, I don't care. He said, I don't care. I reject it. And Prabhupada said, you can't reject it. It's in the Vedas. Just like what we just read now. For very low-class people, they are permitted to engage in things that are actually adharma, but in a regulated way, and with the efforts of bona fide gurus or pundits, they will be gradually weaned off of that horrible behavior and come to a higher level. So the Vedas are one gigantic tent in which everyone can fit under. The low-class people and the first-class people, they can all come under that tent and make gradual devotional advancement. Okay, so following the footsteps of Maharaj Parikshit, it is the duty of all executive heads of states to see that the principles of religion, namely austerity, cleanliness, mercy, and truthfulness, are established in the state, and that the principles of irreligion, namely pride, illicit female association or prostitution, intoxication, and lying and falsity and gambling, are checked at all means. And to make best use of a bad bargain, the personality Kali may be transferred to places of gambling, drinking, prostitution, and slaughterhouses, if there are any places like that. Well, there are plenty of places like that in India now, and in the United States, and in Europe, and in Australia, and all over the world, and in China. There are plenty of places like that. So you walk into a place like that, you are walking right face to face with Kali, the evil, well, he's a devotee, but he has the thankless task of getting people entangled in meat eating, gambling, etc. So, those who are addicted to these irreligious habits may be regulated by the injunctions of the scripture. In no circumstances should they be encouraged by any state. In other words, the state should categorically stop all sorts of gambling, drinking, prostitution, and falsity, or gambling, falsity, lying. The state which wants to eradicate corruption by majority may introduce the principles of religion in the following manner. So this is, well, I mean, this is all about how to purify society. 1, 2 compulsory fasting days in a month, if not more. This is austerity. Even from the economic point of view, such 2 fasting days in a month in the state will save tons of food, and the system will also act very favorably on the general health of the citizens. So now we're going to go through a list of things Prabhupada has given by which we can purify society. 2, there must be compulsory marriage of young boys and girls. The boys who attain at most 24 years of age and girls 16 years of age, respectively, should get married. There is no harm in coeducation in the schools and colleges, provided the boys and girls are duly married. And in case there is any intimate connection between a male and female student, they should be married properly without illicit relation. The Divorce Act is encouraging prostitution, and this should be abolished. There you go. So, are you going to get your kids married? Girls at 16 and boys at most 24. They can be less than that also. That's what Prabhupada is recommending here. Number 3, the citizens of the state must give in charity up to 50% of their income for the purpose of creating a spiritual atmosphere in the state or in the human society, both individually and collectively. And the Prabhupada is saying 50% of your income should go to supporting Harinam Sankirtan and other religious activities of Krishna consciousness. They should preach the principles of Bhagavatam by A, karma yoga, or doing everything for the satisfaction of the Lord, B, regular hearing of the Srimad Bhagavatam from authorized persons or realized souls, C, chanting of the glories of the Lord congregationally at home or at a place of worship, D, rendering all kinds of service to Bhagavatas engaged in preaching Srimad Bhagavatam, that means pure devotees, and E, residing in a place where the atmosphere is saturated with God consciousness. If the state is regulated by the above process, naturally there would be God consciousness everywhere. So, giving 50% of your income for the purpose of creating a spiritual atmosphere in the state or in human society, both individually and collectively. And then this is part of number 3. Gambling of all description, even speculative business enterprise, is considered to be degrading, and when gambling is encouraged in the state, there is complete disappearance of truthfulness. Whoa, now we know why the bitcoins tanked, right? People were becoming millionaires and billionaires by minting bitcoins and selling them to other idiots. And what happened? Well, it's not completely finished, but it's almost completely finished. So these are speculative business enterprise. What could be more speculative than a Bitcoin? Allowing young boys and girls to remain unmarried more than the above-mentioned ages and licensing animal slaughterhouses of all description should be at once prohibited. The flesh eaters may be allowed to take flesh as mentioned in the scriptures and not otherwise. Intoxication of all description, even smoking cigarettes, chewing tobacco, or the drinking of tea must be prohibited. Whoa, drinking of tea. All those very respectable Hindu ladies who drink so much tea in India, whoa, they are intoxicating. Okay. So these are the 3 main things that Prabhupada has written here for the purification of society. Next, Srimad Bhagavatam 1:17-39. The personality Kali asked for something more, and because of his begging, the king gave him permission to live where there is gold, because wherever there is gold, there is also falsity or lying, intoxication, lust, envy, and enmity. Enmity means like hatred. Although Maharaj Parikshit gave Kali permission to live in 4 places, it was difficult, very difficult for Kali to find the places, because during the reign of Maharaj Parikshit, there were no such places. Therefore, Kali asked the king to give him something practical which could be utilized for his nefarious, meaning very evil purposes. Maharaj Parikshit thus gave him permission to live in a place where there is gold, because wherever there is gold, there are all the above-mentioned 4 things, and over and above them, there is enmity, hatred. So the personality of Kali became gold standardized. Gold standardized means you put some gold in a very secure place, and then you issue dollars or rupees based on the gold that you have, right? That's called gold standardization. According to Srimad Bhagavatam, gold encourages falsity, intoxication, prostitution, envy, and enmity, or hatred. Even a gold standard exchange and currency is bad. Gold standard currency is based on falsehood because the currency is not on a par with the reserve gold. So is India on a gold standard? They also stopped it. Yeah. So the United States also stopped it. That was President Nixon that stopped it. Why? Because it was very clear that they were printing way more money than they had gold. So they just said, no, now our standard is fiat money. It's the money itself. So, and now Bhakta Joe is printing billions and billions of dollars, right? And that's why there is what you call inflation, because they're printing way more money than they should, and it's making everything more expensive. Right? We'll talk about that later on. The basic principle is falsity, because currency notes are issued in value beyond that of the actual reserved gold. This artificial inflation of currency by the authorities encourages prostitution of the state economy. The price of commodities become artificially inflated because of bad money or artificial currency notes. Bad money drives away good money. Well, now this is what you're all about, right? Instead of paper money, actual gold coins should be used for exchange, and this will stop prostitution of gold. So he's not advocating the gold standardization. He's advocating use real gold coins. This would stop all the cheating that's taking place by the government. This will stop prostitution of gold. Gold ornaments for women may be allowed by control, not by quality, but by quantity. In other words, women can have some gold trinkets, but not a lot, right? This will discourage lust, envy, and enmity. When there is actual gold currency in the form of coins, the influence of gold in producing falsity, prostitution, etc. will automatically cease. There will be no need of an anti-corruption ministry for another term of prostitution and falsity of purpose. Whoa. 1:1740. Thus the personality Kali, by the directions of Maharaj Parikshit, the son of Uttara, was allowed to live in those 5 places. Purport. Thus the age of Kali began with gold standardization, and therefore falsity, intoxication, animal slaughter, and prostitution are rampant all over the world, and the saner section is eager to drive out corruption. The counteracting process is suggested above, and everyone can take advantage of this suggestion, those 3 points that Prabhupada suggested. 1:1741. We're almost finished. Therefore, whoever desires progressive well-being, especially kings, religionists, public leaders, brahmanas, and sannyasis, should never come in contact with the 4 above-mentioned irreligious principles. Prabhupada, purport. The brahmanas are the religious preceptors or teachers for all the other castes, and the sannyasis are the spiritual masters for all the castes and orders of society. So also are the king and the public leaders, who are responsible for the material welfare of all people. The progressive religionists and those who are responsible human beings, or those who do not want to spoil their valuable human lives, should refrain, in other words, give up, from all the principles of irreligiosity, especially illicit connection with women. If a brahmana is not truthful, all his claims as a brahmana at once become null and void. Well, that's Jalebi Baba. You could make a song, a rap song about that. Jalebi Baba. Right? Yeah, he's null and void now because he's a cheater. If a sannyasi is illicitly connected with women, all his claims as a sannyasi at once become false. Similarly, if the king and the public leader are unnecessarily proud or habituated to drinking and smoking, certainly they become disqualified to discharge public welfare activities. Whoa, well, that qualifies Trump because he doesn't smoke and he doesn't drink liquor. But he does eat meat, so he's canceled. Right? If he gave up meat eating also, he might be considered bona fide, maybe.
But he is also good at the 4th principle, which is outside of.
Yeah, that's true also. So he's eliminated. He's eliminated. Don't vote for him. Truthfulness is the basic principle for all religions. The four leaders of human society, namely the sannyasis and brahmanas, the king, and the public leader, must be tested crucially by their character and qualification. Before one can be accepted as a spiritual or material master of society, he or she must be tested by the above-mentioned criteria of character. Such public leaders may be less qualified in academic qualifications, but it is necessary primarily that they be free from the contamination of the four disqualifications, namely gambling, drinking, prostitution, and animal slaughter. So even if they're less academically qualified, that doesn't count. What counts is that they must be free of these four negative qualities. Otherwise, they cannot be accepted to be a leader of society. 11742. Thereafter, the king reestablished the lost legs of the personality of religion, the bull. So the three legs had been cut or hurt by Kali. They were, the only one that was not hurt was truthfulness. Because even a drunkard in Kali Yuga, if you ask him, "Sir, you have any advice for me?" He'll say, "Yes, don't drink liquor." So he can tell the truth, right? He can't stop himself, but he can tell you, "I'm giving you advice, my friend. Don't drink liquor. It's not good for you." So, by designating particular places for the personality of Kali, Maharaj Parikshit practically cheated Kali. In the presence of Kali, Dharma, the bull, in the shape of a bull, and the earth in the shape of a cow, he could actually estimate the general condition of his kingdom. And therefore, he at once took proper steps to reestablish the legs of the bull, namely austerity, cleanliness, and mercy. And in other words, austerity, no meat eating, no false pride, no meat eating, no false concepts, like animals have no soul. It's unbelievable that Christians believe that. And cleanliness, no illicit sex, and mercy, no intoxication. For the general benefit of the people of the world, he saw that the gold stock might be employed for stabilization. Gold is certainly a generator of falsity, intoxication, prostitution, enmity, and violence. But under the guidance of a proper king or public leader or brahmana or sannyasi, the same gold can be properly utilized to reestablish the lost legs of the bull, the personality of religion. Maharaj Parikshit, therefore, like his grandfather Arjuna, collected all illicit gold except for the propensities of Kali and employed it in the Sankirtan Yajna. In other words, he didn't collect all the gold. He left some for Kali, because Kali had to start Kali Yuga. So he collected all the illicit gold kept for the propensities of Kali and employed it in the Sankirtan Yajna as per instruction of the Srimad Bhagavatam. As we have suggested before, one's accumulated wealth may be divided into three parts for distribution, namely 50% for the service of the Lord, 25% for the family members, 25% for personal necessities. Spending 50% for the service of the Lord or for propagation of spiritual knowledge in society by way of the Sankirtan Yajna is the maximum display of human mercy. People of the world are generally in darkness regarding spiritual knowledge, especially in regard to the devotional service of the Lord, and therefore to propagate the systematic transcendental knowledge of the devotional service is the greatest mercy that one can show in this world. When everyone is taught to sacrifice 50% of his accumulated gold for the Lord's service, certainly austerity, cleanliness, and mercy automatically ensue. That means follow. And thus, the lost three legs of the personality of religion are automatically established. When there is sufficient austerity, cleanliness, mercy, and truthfulness, naturally Mother Earth is completely satisfied and there is little chance for Kali to infiltrate the structure of human society. Then, Srimad Bhagavatam 1:17, 43-44, the most fortunate emperor Maharaj Parikshit, who was entrusted with the kingdom of Hastinapur by Maharaj Yudhisthira, when he desired to retire to the forest, is now ruling the world with great success due to his being glorified by the deeds of the kings of the Kuru dynasty. So I'm going to just quickly summarize the rest. Here it sounds like Maharaj Parikshit is still alive, or his kingdom is still intact, or something is still going on, because they're using the present tense here. Yes. Why? Because, Prabhupada says, the prolonged sacrificial ceremonies undertaken by the sages of Naimisharanya were begun shortly after the demise of Maharaj Parikshit. The sacrifice, that's when they heard Srimad Bhagavatam for 1,000 years. The sacrifice, we hardly can hear it once a week, but they heard it for 1,000 years. That's how profound the Srimad Bhagavatam is. The sacrifice was to continue for 1,000 years, and it is understood that in the beginning, some of the contemporaries of Baladeva, the elder brother of Lord Krishna, also visited the sacrificial place, meaning Naimisharanya. According to some authorities, the present tense is also used to indicate the nearest margin of time from the past. In that sense, the present tense is applied to the reign of Maharaj Parikshit here. For a continuous fact, also, present tense can be used. The principles of Maharaj Parikshit can be still continued, and the human society can still be improved if there is determination by the authorities. We can still purge out of the state all the activities of immorality and introduced by the personality of Kali, if we are determined to take action like Maharaj Parikshit. He allotted some place for Kali, but in fact, Kali could not find such places in the world at all, because Maharaj Parikshit was strictly vigilant to see that there were no places of gambling, drinking, prostitution, and animal slaughter. Modern administrators want to banish corruption from the state, but fools as they are, they do not know how to do it. They want to issue licenses for gambling houses, wine and other intoxicating drug houses, brothels, hotel prostitution, and cinema houses, and falsity in every dealing, even in their own, and they want at the same time to drive out corruption from the state. You see how foolish they are, and they're not able to do it. They want the kingdom of God without God consciousness. How can it be possible to adjust two contradictory matters? If we want to drive out corruption from the state, we must first of all organize society to accept the principles of religion, namely austerity, cleanliness, mercy, and truthfulness. And to make the condition favorable, we must close all places of gambling, drinking, prostitution, and falsity. These are some of the practical lessons from the pages of Srimad Bhagavatam. So what is Prabhupada saying here? Well, it's pretty clear, but how do we do this? At least in the ISKCON communities, these four things should not be there. And the devotees should be practicing this 50%, if they can, sacrifice, and to promulgate or to support Harinam Sankirtan on a massive scale, not 10, 20 people going out, but hundreds or thousands of people going out every weekend and every day on Sankirtan, distributing massive amount of prasadam, books, and inviting people to come to the temple or come to the ashrams for association. This is the way we can get 50,000 devotees in the Seattle area. Now, who is going to do this? That's the question. Okay, we're doing something, but you want to change the whole state of Washington into a Krishna conscious state, we have to do it on a much bigger level. And we can't expect everyone to give up intoxication, meat eating, etc. But we could possibly get 50,000 people in the state to do that if we increase Sankirtan on a massive scale. And you'll be surprised how effective it is. That's how the movement grew in the years that Prabhupada was present, because he expanded Sankirtan on a massive level all over the world. And it had its effect. Many people joined Krishna consciousness. So we have a big purpose here. We can purify the society in Washington State, starting with Seattle, where the largest number of people live in the state. The Washington State is relatively unpopulated. It has hardly 5 million people in this state. Maybe it's a little bit more now. Maybe it's 7 million. And that's very little population for a big state like this. And most of the people are in the Seattle area. So if we do massive Sankirtan here, massive Sankirtan, massive book distribution, massive prasadam distribution, and massive preaching, we could actually get 50,000 devotees in this state. Okay, think about it. And you know what happens when you do this? Every problem you have in your life goes away. And you don't have to worry about money. You don't have to worry about these things. Krishna will supply it. Krishna is the richest person. No one is richer than Krishna. If we do the right thing, he will support us. We have to have that faith. And you have to have that determination. So when I first came here, there was a little house. It had cockroaches and rats. And we worked in that house for about 16 years before we were able to start a real process of getting a real temple. 16 years. And I supported the temple financially that whole time because there were hardly any people coming to the temple. After 16 years, people started coming, of course. But it took 16 years to get the traction to actually build this temple and then to expand the movement. So that's tapasya. But it's enjoyable tapasya because there's chant, dancing, feasting, there is hearing Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, there is preaching, there's Sankirtan, there is so many wonderful things like spreading Krishna consciousness, seeing people become devotees, and building up camaraderie with all kinds of different people, where normally our relationship with people is very limited. But when you join Krishna consciousness, it becomes expanded. It can be expanded to hundreds and thousands of people. Right? So, anyway, we'll stop right there. Are there any questions? Now you know what we're aiming for. We're aiming for 50,000 devotees in the Seattle, Washington State. Haribol. Yes.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Just to add to Trump thing, okay.
What?
Trump.
Okay.
Our greatest leader, okay.
Yeah.
So regarding one of the principles, the gambling, in the past he also had he also started casinos, okay, in Atlantic City, okay. But you know they went bankrupt, okay. So
Yeah, but there's one good thing Trump did. I don't know if you know about this. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. In the 1970s, I think it was around 1974 or 5, the devotees in New York City, they wanted to organize a nice Jagannath festival in downtown Manhattan. Their problem was, where could they construct the Jagannath cart? It's a big one. Right? So they tried to find a place, and everyone kept saying no. The only person that gave him a place was Mr. Donald J. Trump.
Wow.
You don't know this.
Oh.
If he was elected president, it's because he did this. He gave it to him for free. He had
Good,
one
good.
of his properties in downtown Manhattan, and he hadn't built, I guess it wasn't built up yet. He gave that to the devotees. I think they used it for almost a month to build their cart, take it out easily into downtown Manhattan, right? They didn't have to hire a truck to bring it in from outside, and they really appreciated what he did, and he gave it to him for free.
Yeah.
Right?
Now I know one good thing.
Now you know
that
why he became president.
There's something to appreciate. Yeah. Sorry.
Now we wrote a letter to Trump. It was one of the projects for our class, and Shrestha wrote a letter to Trump. I helped her write the letter, in which, in a very nice way, we asked him to stop eating meat.
Right.
And to take up Krishna consciousness, basically. And we told him that you're the president of the United States. You want to do good things for this country, but we're going to give a few suggestions that will help you do all those good things and be the real president of this country. And he never answered us. So that was his mistake. The one good thing he did for Krishna consciousness helped him tremendously. If he had answered the letter and got interested in it, he might still be president of the United States, but he didn't listen. So,
Right.
Haribol.
Yeah.
We sent him a letter. And he got it.
Maharaj, this meat eating, okay, sometimes I have difficulty explaining in very simple way to my friends when they ask why shouldn't we eat meat, but why that principle even exists in our philosophy. I don't eat because my simple reason is it doesn't make sense to me killing another life just for eating, especially when there are many alternatives.
Well, see, you're allowed to eat meat in a restricted way in the Vedas. Right? But you have to kill the animal yourself and clean it. And you have to say that, my dear friend, I'm killing you now, and in the next life, you're going to kill me in the same way. So there's a possibility of understanding why you shouldn't eat meat, because you're going to be killed in the same way in the next life, right? But if you just go to the Safeway and you buy a piece of meat, you don't have to kill the animal. I mean, if you have to kill the animal, many people would stop eating meat if they had to actually kill the animal themselves, right? Because it's a horrible thing. The animal's running away, right? And they're going to fight you. They're going to bite you if they can, or they kick you, or whatever, right? So it's not a nice thing. It's not a nice experience, to say. And then you have to clean it. There's blood, there's intestines. But you just go and buy a piece of meat in the store. That is the worst sinful thing you can do, because it looks like it's okay. You see.
But that's still the safer thing is there because someone wants to eat. That's why they are providing it.
Well, because they don't understand the consequences, right? Like, for example, somebody wants to smoke marijuana. Somebody wants to take fentanyl. Someone wants to shoot up cocaine. They don't realize the consequences. You are coming close to death by doing these things. You see.
It becomes hard, especially when they don't even
By the
believe
way,
rebirth. Okay.
Why is there so much intestinal cancer in the United States? You see. Why don't you look at that panel there? Then you can convince people. All the information is on that panel, right there. The number of deaths due to eating meat in the United States every year. Why do we put that up there? So you have the information, and those are validated statistics. The heart disease, the diabetes, blood pressure, all that's due to this meat eating.
Yeah, and also the meat industry is one of the biggest contributors for the global warming. Okay.
That's a myth.
Really?
That's a myth.
Okay.
That's not true.
So
One volcano will do more damage to the that explodes is more damaging to the whole world than all the farts of the cows and the bulls. Right. So you remember we saw what happened with one volcano and the effect it had. It wiped. You remember that? Okay, you all forgot. I'll get that. I'll show it to you. It's a statistic from the state of California. Huh? Oh, the wildfire. Yeah, the wildfire.
the carbon dioxide back.
Yeah, it set back all the carbon. What do you call this? All the positive carbon. Huh? Okay, the carbon offset that the state of California had from 2003 to the present.
Yeah.
That last year and the year before fires wiped out all the carbon. What do you call this? Carbon. No.
Methane?
What?
Methane or?
No, huh? No, the carbon assets or the carbon. Yeah, see, when you do, let's say, you put cardboard in one box and you put food things leftovers in another box and they compost it. You get these carbon assets or carbon, like companies, they buy carbon assets. Credits, yeah. All the carbon credits of the state of Washington since 2003 to the present were wiped out by the fires in 2021 and 2022. Wiped out completely.
Greenhouse gas emission cuts.
Yeah, okay, greenhouse gas emission.
Yeah.
So the whole thing is a hoax. They're blaming it on the cows. It's not. You should blame it on what it actually is. They don't count. California did count it this time, but they usually don't count natural catastrophes effect on the climate. They just talk about the cows and the cars. You see, the whole thing is a false narrative.
I mean, my understanding that is one of the factors, but more than that, it's deforestation, consumption of water by all these animals, and then the compounding effect, okay, of all this meat
It has
industry.
nothing to do with the animals.
Okay.
It has to do with the factories. It has to do with natural cataclysmic events. That's what's causing but the real cause is too many demons are being born. Every time a demon is born, there are climate catastrophes.
One last question regarding this, the gun culture. Okay.
What? Gun culture.
Yeah, I think I truly feel after spending so much of time in America, this is uniquely American problem. Okay.
No, it's not.
I mean, all of the
Absolutely not.
countries, especially developed and some of the developing countries, they don't have this many guns on the street, and they're living it. Okay, and we have every year we have been having many incidents. Okay, some of the incidents we are very well aware of, like Sandy Hook Elementary, where about 25 persons are killed. Almost all of them are 6 or 7 years old. And recently, I think in last 2 months, there is a 6-year-old kid shot his teacher, and luckily she survived. Okay, my question is, don't we have more guns than required? I'm not saying the guns are not required. I understand their purpose, but don't we have more than they are required? And what is the need of automatic rifle, warlike weapons to be available for selling in this country?
Well, look, the most strict gun control was in Nazi Germany. And look what happened. They wiped out Polish Jews, Hungarian Jews, they wiped them out completely because they didn't have any way to defend themselves. They had just, knives and maybe a few guns, but the Nazis had all these powerful guns. They just easily wiped these people out. So and when the founding fathers of the United States, they knew that whenever you have a government, it's possible that government can become rogue. And therefore, they guaranteed guns available to the population to protect themselves from thieves and also, if necessary, protect themselves from the government. Right? Because sometimes the government goes rogue. So whether it's good or not, I'm telling you, the best gun control argument I ever heard was Sita Devi trying to convince Ram not to take his weapons into the forest in exile. And he didn't listen to her. And good thing he didn't listen to her. So there are, now you're saying there are too many guns in America. Well, that's possible. But if you lived in a dangerous neighborhood, I used to live in a dangerous neighborhood, Philadelphia. Philadelphia is very dangerous. It's one of the worst places now, even now, right? And you definitely need a gun to protect yourself in certain areas of that city. It's very dangerous, especially where Temple University is a very dangerous place. And our church used to be, the church I used to go to used to be right in that neighborhood, in Columbia Avenue in North Philadelphia. And it was dangerous. Every time we'd go to church, it was dangerous. So there are places in this country that are very dangerous, and if you can have a gun, you definitely get one, just to protect yourself and your family. Now, we live in a place that is not dangerous, right? So you don't feel the necessity for a gun. But there are places in this country extremely dangerous, like Baltimore, Philadelphia, Chicago, Washington, D.C. is the worst of them all because it's under the control of the government, of the Congress. And they're the worst managers in the world. In Washington, D.C., after you go 1 or 2 blocks away from the White House, right, you come into the worst neighborhoods in the whole country, right? It's ridiculous. It's like a joke, And it's because it's being controlled by the Congress of the United States. Right? So there are places like Texas where you easily can get a carry permit, right? And there's less crime in places like that. But now of course the crime has increased because the borders are open. So you have these cartels that are controlling areas of where the border is. So anyway,
Thank you, Maharaj.
we're not going to solve all the problems, but you just heard what Prabhupada said. So that's what we should follow. Hare Krishna. Okay, we'll have Aarti. Guru Puja. So we'll send out the text that we read from today to everybody who wants to read it. Okay, wait a minute. Who's going to sing? Going to sing, right? Yeah, yes.
Bhakati Sadma
Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhakati Sadma
Bandhamoi Savadana Mate
Mandomui Savadana Mate
Jahara Prasade Bhai E Baba Toriya Jai
Janara Prasade Bhai E Bhavatoriya Jai
Krishna Prati Ho Jaha Hoite
Krishna Prapti Hoya Te
Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chitite Koriya Kya
Guru Mukha Padma Vakya
Arana Kori Ho Mane Asha
Arana Koriya Mane Asa
Shri Guru Charane Rati Aise Uttama Gati
Shri Guru Charane Rati Aise Uttama Gati
Jai Prasade Pure Sarva Acha
Ade Pure Sarva Sa
चक्षुदान दिलो जे जन्मे जन्मे प्रभु से
Sakshidan Dilaje Janme Janme Prabhu Se
दिव्य ज्ञान हृदय प्रकाशितो
Divya Gyani De Prakashito
प्रेम भक्ति जहाँ होते अविद्या विनाशते
Prema Bhakti Jahate Avidya Vinasajate
वेदे गाय जहाँ रचरितो
Vedegai Janaracharita
श्री गुरु करुणा सिंधु अधम चनर बंधु
Shri Guru Karuna Sindhu Adhana Janara Bandhu
लोकनाथ लोकेर जीवाना
Lokena Lokera Jivana
हा हा प्रभु कर दया देहो मोरे पदचया
Aha Prabhu Kura Doya Deya More Pada Jaya
ए बेगाय गुशुक त्रिभुवाना
Ebeyas Sukhi Bhuvana
शील प्रभुपाद पतित पवाना
Prabhupada Patita Pavana
जय प्रभुपाद जय प्रभुपाद जय प्रभुपाद शील प्रभुपाद
Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada
जय गुरुदेवा जय गुरुदेवा जय गुरुदेवा जय गुरुदेवा
Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Guru Deva Jaya Guru Deva Jaya Guru Deva
नमः कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामी इति नामिने
Namah Vishnupadaya Krishna Vestaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine
Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pachatya Tishatarine
Sesa Sunyavadi Vaskatya Nizatarine
Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada
Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada
Jaya Gurudeva Jaya Gurudeva Jaya Gurudeva Jaya Gurudeva Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol
Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paravajakachaya Astatarastatarashi Shishimada's Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Goswami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Anatakoti Vaishnavinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kohosi Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhaktivinda Ki Jai Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Sam Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Shri Mayapura Dham Ki Jai Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai Tulasi Devi Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Ganga Maya Ki Jai, Jamuna Maya Ki Jai, Samaveda Bhaktivinda Ki Jai, Nitai Gaura Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Shiguru and Shiguranga, all glories to Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The lotus feet of our spiritual master are the only way by which we can attain the pure devotional service. I bow down to his lotus feet with great awe and reverence. By his grace, one can cross the ocean of material suffering and obtain the mercy of Krishna. I only wish to have my consciousness purified by the words emanating from his lotus mouth. Attachment to his lotus feet is the perfection fulfills all desires. He opens my darkened eyes and fills my heart with transcendental knowledge. He is my Lord, birth after birth. From him, ecstatic prema emanates. By him, ignorance is destroyed. The Vedic scriptures sing of his character. Our spiritual master is the ocean of mercy, the friend of the poor and Lord and master of devotees. O Master, be worshipful to us. Give us the shade of your lotus feet. Your fame is spread throughout all the three worlds. We take shelter of your lotus feet. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.